Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Today I'm bringing you an OU battle versus Cameron. And this is actually a very interesting battle because I'm using a lot of Pokemon I've never really used before that I've wanted to use before. Like Choice Scarf Jolly Landorus before I usually use Adamant. With leftovers so I can set up Stealth Rocks. I'm using Terrakion, Assault Vest Azumarill, Sharpedo, and Mega Gardevoir. I always wanted to use Mega Gardevoir but I never really got around to doing it. So on this team, I see a Volcarona, which is a threat. If it sets up Quiver Dances, it can pretty much sweep through most of my team. The Mega Pidgeot, which is not really a problem because it does have that no-gut, so my Stone Edges will hit. Dugtrio is a huge problem because it traps my Terrakion and my Tentacruel and just Earthquake it, so I have to be watch out for that. And there's that freaking Rotom, and Rotoms are just Rotoms. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into the battle. So I decided to pretty much lead off with my Landorus because my Landorus is faster than most of his team. So there was really no risk, except for if he sent out his Rotom because I can really do nothing to a Rotom. I thought about going for a knockoff, but it really wasn't worth it as he can just Hydro Pump and Will-O-Wisp, and I need my Landorus. So I'm just going to go ahead U-turn, and based on that damage, I'm not really sure if it's defensive or special defensive. But I decided to go out into my Tentacruel as the best option to take a Hydro Pump or a Will-O-Wisp, as he does go for the Hydro Pump. So at this point, I figured that I was going to be slower than a Rotom because I pretty much always am, and he was going to Volt Switch and I would just knock off whatever came in. But I realized that he still has that Dugtrio in the back, so it can just... Dugtrio can take a knockoff, but I end up being faster than it. I can get rid of this thing's leftovers, but I know that the Volt Switch into Dugtrio is coming, as that's just a dead Tentacruel. I could do nothing. I mean, Dugtrio just plain outspeeds Tentacruel, and I'm not even sure if it can take an Earthquake. I was actually hoping that he could take an Earthquake, but you will see that he really doesn't. So I just went for Scald, hoping that I could survive an Earthquake because I do run defense on this. And it moves so slowly, but my Tentacruel goes down, unfortunate. So this Dugtrio's in here, so I figured that the best play would be to go out in my Azumarill. So I actually made a misplay at this part. I could have just went for the Aqua Jet and taken this thing down, but I was afraid of it being Focus Sash or switching out. So I actually just went for a knockoff, as he does big damage from the Earthquake. From that damage, I realized it was Choice Banded, as you can see, because I knocked off the Choice Band, and that's just a whole bunch of damage on my Azumarill that I really didn't need. So now he can bring in this Pidgeot, which I know is going to be Mega. I mean, you don't run a regular Pidgeot. And I thought that I could take a Hurricane because I do have an Assault Vest, but I can't. That Earthquake damage was huge. I just should have went straight for Aqua Jet. There was nothing I would really lose. So I'd go for Aqua Jet now because I know I can't survive a Hurricane, and that does a good chunk of damage. As he does go for the Hurricane, and that's going to knock my Azumarill out. And I just needed some damage on that Pidgeot, which is great. So now I'm going to go out into my Landorus, just to pretty much come in here and scare away this Pidgeot. This thing has no guts, so I know that he doesn't really want to take a Stone Edge. So I knew he was going to switch out as he goes out into his Rotom Wash. And I just go straight for a U-turn, knowing that he would switch out because he didn't want to take a Stone Edge. So this Rotom is just catching all the U-turns, just getting some chip damage. As now I can go out into my Gardevoir, and I know my Gardevoir is faster. And I'm just thinking that I'm just thinking that Hyper Voice from Gardevoir will be able to take out this Rotom Wash, and that'd be great because that'd get rid of one of his pivots. As he does switch out, and he actually goes out into his Jirachi, and this Jirachi is not really going to take this Hyper Voice that well, but it does take it. So it's actually good to get some damage off on this thing. So I go for the Hyper Voice, and it does a decent chunk to it. Does about 35% after leftovers, about 30% after leftovers. And I just have to switch the hell out. I don't want to take an Iron Head, so I'm pretty much going to go into my Landorus to intimidate this thing. If he wants to set up a substitute, he can set up a substitute or do whatever. I was just hoping that he didn't go for a Fire Punch because the Serene Grace can land a burn, but instead he goes for Toxic, and that's not good. I need my Landorus not to be worn down. So this Jirachi's over here getting leftovers, just looking real clean, and I'm just I have to decide what I'm gonna do. So at this point, I decide to, what did I do? I don't remember what I did at this point. I think I went for another U-turn, knowing he'll probably switch. And plus, a U-turn can do some good damage to Jirachi as he brings in the Rotom again. So at this point, I know I can go out into my Gardevoir and Hyper Voice, knowing that the Jirachi won't come in anymore because another two Hyper Voices will be able to take it out. So I go for the Hyper Voice, and I'm finally able to get rid of this freaking Rotom. It's not really too it's it's a important pivot, but he was going to lose it sooner or later. So now he does go into his Jirachi, and I really don't want to take any attack. I don't really have to risk anything, as he can go for the Fire Punch. He'll be intimidated. He can go Fire Punch, Iron Head. It really won't do anything. And I'm toxic, so I can't get burned. As now he actually sets up the substitute, and that's unfortunate because my Landorus is going to kind of be whittled at this point because he's behind the sub. I can't really switch out because nobody will be able to take out the sub. I could go into Gardevoir Hyper Voice, but it won't be able to take it out. So I decide I'm just going to go for knockoffs to pretty much break the sub and to get this Jirachi out here. And if possible, just get rid of the freaking Jirachi. So the substitute does fade. This ugly ass Jirachi comes out. But he goes for the Fire Punch. I don't have to risk a burn. That does a small chunk thanks to the Intimidate. And he really can't switch out because nobody really wants to take a knockoff. So my Landorus is getting poisoned. It is unfortunate. And I kind of felt that this knockoff would be able to knock out. But Jirachi barely survives with like 1 HP. And he's going to go for Iron Head to get some good damage on my Landorus. Well, and the poison is just going to bring me really, really low. So at this point, I figured I could either go for the knockoff, get off the knock off the Jirachi, but I figured that it's not a good trade. I'm just going to go out in my Sharpedo, knowing another Iron Head is coming, just to take some resisted damage. And Sharpedo is kind of frail, so I didn't really expect it to take that little. As he's going to outspeed me and go for another Iron Head. Now the damage is starting to rack up, and I revealed that I'm actually a special variant. I figured that I have a whole bunch of special attackers. I need a fast freaking special attacker. Well, I have so many attackers. I need a fast special attacker. As I'm going to get the speed boost, and I'm going to pretty much outspeed the rest of his team. So at this point, he goes out into his Volcarona, and I'm kind of scared because this Volcarona is a problem. So I figure it's better just to go for a Scald, get as much damage as I can. He can go for a Quiver Dance, but I was sure that 2 Scalds would be able to knock him out even if he went for a Quiver Dance. As he just goes straight for a Bug Buzz and knocks out my Sharpedo. So my Sharpedo goes down. I figured that right now the best switch to be to go out into my Landorus. My Landorus cannot be burned from touching this thing. Of course, I outspeeded. And in case he wants to switch out, I just went straight for the U-turn. I don't really know what he could have done, but U-turn was my best option because I don't have to risk anything. And I don't have to take any poison damage because I'm switching out. So at this point, I'm just going to go straight into my Gardevoir because that's the only other Pokemon that I could actually go out into. As now he goes into his freaking Bird Jesus right here, his Mega Pidgeot. And I kind of wish I set up Stealth Rocks. As this freaking Pidgeot uses Hyper Beam, and I was actually afraid that it was going to kill, but I remember that I'm freaking Mega Gardevoir. Especially bulky. This thing is so bulky. As I just go straight for a Hyper Voice because it does more than a Focus Blast. As the crit really didn't matter. I'm sure the crit didn't matter. The bird is fat, but it's not that fat. So now he goes out into his Latias. I actually thought that I could survive a Psyshock or whatever this thing was going to go for, but my Gardevoir does go down. So this Latias is his last Pokemon, and I was actually doing a test right here. Knockoff from Landorus is a roll at this point. It's a really, really low roll, so I'm going to go out in my Terrakion to see if it's either defensive or it's max bulk. So it outspeeds me, so I know it's max speed, and it kills. So his Psyshock kills, so I know it's specially attack. So at this point, it's not, god dang AVG, it's not that big of a roll, but it's still a roll if he survives or not, and it can win. So I just go straight for a knockoff, as that's the best thing to go for, and the Latios goes down, so that's great. I almost thought I had to upload a loss, because I do upload losses. It's just, I already told you, when I do lose, it's just like, it's not very entertaining or anything. But thanks for watching. If y'all want to see more, then hit the like button, subscribe button, do whatever. If you think there's anything I could have done better, then go ahead, comment. I'm growing in all that. I need likes. Likes help further the community. Well, further, not further the community. It helps me get out there more. In comments, well, some constructive criticism wouldn't be bad. Like, put more feeling into your stuff. But yeah, I'm just kind of in a house. Like, I don't want to disturb people. But F them, I might just get loud anyway. Thanks for watching.